I got a question for you. What if the state of Florida ends up owning college football this year and over the next couple of years? Think about it before you just start yelling. Think about it. Too late for some of you. Some of you are yelling right now. And you ought to just give me a shot. You ought to just let me plead my case before you shout this down. Okay, follow me here. Let's say Florida State and Miami in the ACC, they both have over-under win totals of 9.5, so this is not crazy. Let's say they both are college football playoff contenders this year. So they both have legitimate seasons. Okay, that's one. Let's say Florida doesn't bomb. Let's say they go over their win total and they end up winning 7 or 8 games, and their losses are pretty competitive losses to the point where your doubts are erased about Billy Napier, and they end the season and you say 7 or 8 wins for Florida. Wow, that was really good. And then the momentum starts to build for the coming year. Bookmark that. Let's say Central Florida is the total wild card in the Big 12. Because remember, there's only one Big 12 program that gets to recruit in-state in Florida, and it's Gus Malzahn, and it's UCF. And they've been really active in the portal as well. They got the 5th best odds to win the conference this year, and it's the Big 12. This is not normal football. It's the Big 12. Anything can happen. So let's say that stuff starts to happen all at the same time. And maybe Alex Golish over there at USF, maybe they're a player in the G5 ranks. If this stuff starts to happen, which it already kind of has, Florida State's already at the head table. Miami's already trending in the right direction and certainly recruiting at a much higher level than they were under the previous couple of staffs. Florida's recruiting well, too. They just haven't won on the field yet. So if we start adding those blocks, you know what that equals? Number one, it equals an incredible environment in the state of Florida, but that doesn't really affect you as a Clemson fan. It doesn't affect you as an Ohio State fan. You're just kind of watching it from a distance, right? Well, you're wrong, because here's where it impacts you. You guys at Ohio State or Georgia or Alabama or Clemson, you know that you've relied pretty heavily on talent from the state of Florida to make up your own recruiting classes over the last number of years. Bama had a national championship win in 2020 where their entire secondary was from South Florida. Just the most insane thing that really should never happen. Nick Saban or not, that should never happen if the teams in Florida are taking care of their own business. But they weren't. They were all bad. And so teams came in there and just took whatever they wanted, and then you guys took the backups. And I said then, and I'll continue to say, an expanded playoff is not how you balance the sport. Teams in Florida getting their act together collectively is how you balance the sport. Because if most of that talent in Florida does not leave Florida, then you look at rosters like Clemson and Alabama and Georgia and Ohio State, and they don't go to you-know-what. They just lose a couple of big-time impact players per cycle that stay home. So, every Calvin Ridley that doesn't go to Tuscaloosa is one that goes to Miami or Florida State or Florida. And then all of a sudden, over a 2 or 3 year period, the sport looks different. It's like you've shaved the tops of the highest canopies in the sport, and then you've built up the underbrush, and wow, how competitively balanced this looks all of a sudden. Well, what if that actually starts to happen? A million other factors in play in the sport. But what if that were to start to happen? The secret to competitive balance in the sport has been the state of Florida's programs getting their act together for a long time. And then to a secondary degree, Texas. And then to, wait for it, a tertiary degree. That would be California. So the jury's way, way out on California. But Texas and especially Florida, those are the keys. Always have been, always will be. Next, what if? Ooh, the nightmare scenario. This is for many, many friends of the program. What if a 12-team college football playoff is filled with more blowouts? That can't happen. Well, it statistically is less likely to happen, but it can. So producer Jesse breathlessly ran into the studio minutes before airtime. This doesn't deserve a paper pop. It's just a thing that happened. He said at least 10 games in the playoff era have been decided by 21 or more points. So it's already been Blowout City. Right? Okay, I don't need to tell you that. You already know that. So what's your response? Yeah, we're tired of blowouts. Hey, I was too. We had a difference of opinion, many of you and I, on what the answer should be, but we were all tired of watching blowouts. But I never fell for the straw man argument. The straw man argument was, Josh, aren't you tired of blowouts? And you were waiting for me to say yes so that I would then have to listen to you say, well, I've got the answer. Expand the playoff. more games. Therefore, we'll have to have close games if we have more of them, right? Well, it never mattered to me to begin with, so you guys never got me on that. However, you did get your expanded playoffs, so congratulations to all the expansionists out there. You're not bad people. You just think differently than I do on this front. But this is what if time. So my question, my proposition, my scenario, I still don't even know if any of those are the right terms, but my thing that I want to put out there, immunity, is what if we still just have a bunch of blowouts? I don't know what the answer is to that. I don't know what the recourse. What do you do? Expand it further? You go from 12 to 18? Probably going to happen anyway at some point. Do we just keep expanding until eventually we're playing like a 24-team multi-game first round and finally someone goes to overtime tied at 21 and someone somewhere says, "Ha! Told you! Look at that. 8-4 Kansas State just won in double overtime. I told you expanding the playoff was the key to more competitively balanced games." But they're still going to get their head beat in against Georgia eventually, aren't they? It's just going to take a month and a half for it to happen. January, I promise, will be fun around here. December will be fun. I'm not gonna poo-poo on the playoff parade when the playoff gets here. That's why I'm speaking my mind fervently about it now. And the third what if that I would like to float your way tonight. Everyone talks about sleeper teams this time of year. Big Ten sleepers, SEC sleepers. We've even talked about ACC sleepers. What if Georgia Tech is actually the sleeper team in the ACC? Their over-under win total is 5.5. So you may hear that and say, that's not even bowl eligible. Why are you talking about them as a sleeper? Remember, not only are you not always what your record says you are in college football, you're not always what your win total says you are either in the preseason. Because some of us play really difficult schedules. This is worth a paper pop. Georgia Tech this year plays Florida State in Ireland. They play Notre Dame. They go to Louisville. They go to Virginia Tech. They play Miami. They play NC State, and they go to Georgia. Oh, well, what would your over-under win total be if you had that schedule? Liberty. And so, yeah, they got a low over-under win total. And I got news for you. It's juiced to the under, so it'll probably go down to 4.5. I don't care because I think it's a rapidly improving program. Brent Key and the guys last year had their first winning season in 5 years, and they had close losses to Georgia and Louisville. And Ole Miss game was close in the fourth quarter, and then Ole Miss pulled away. So there's always that conference or a couple of conferences every year where there's that Tim Brando special, the fly in the ointment team. Doesn't mean they themselves are capable of contending for the conference crown. I don't think Georgia Tech's going to be in the mix for the conference title this year. I just think they may be able to take a crowbar to a couple of your shins and keep you out of the conference championship game. And once again, like Mima always said, if you yourself can't win it, Joshua, take a crowbar to someone else's knee so that they cannot win it. Wise beyond her years was Mima.